There's a very specific kind of silence that happens on a date. Not the comfortable kind. The kind where you can actually hear the ice melting in your glass, and you're both suddenly very interested in whatever's happening at the next table over. I used to think that silence meant the date was already over. And honestly, I've sat in that silence more times than I'd like to admit. Once so badly that I excused myself to the bathroom just to regroup, and came back with, "So, weather's been weird lately." Devastating stuff. But here's what I eventually figured out. What's happening in that moment isn't that you've run out of things to say. It's that you never actually learned how conversation works. Nobody teaches this the way they teach literally anything else you're expected to just be good at. By the end of this video, you'll have 3 specific shifts that fix this, starting on your very next date. Most people assume the freeze happens because they're boring or awkward or somehow missing whatever gene makes other people naturally chatty. I believed that for a long time too. Here's what's actually true. Talking to someone well isn't a personality trait. It's closer to a skill. The same category as cooking or driving stick or knowing how to fold a fitted sheet. Nobody's born knowing it. You just haven't been taught the mechanics yet. So let's fix that. 3 specific things. You can start using all of them on your very next date. The first shift is about the kind of questions you're actually asking. Say your date mentions they just got back from visiting their family. The safe move is, "Oh nice, how was it?" A question so generic it barely counts as curiosity. More like a conversational shrug in question form. The better move is getting weirdly specific. "Okay, but on a scale of relaxing to I need a week to recover, where did that land?" Specificity does something a generic question can't. It signals you're actually picturing their life, not just running through a mental checklist of polite things to ask. And here's the quiet mechanic underneath this. Whoever's asking the more interesting question is usually the one steering where the conversation goes next. So if you want the conversation to go somewhere better than small talk purgatory, better questions are how you get there. The second shift is about what your brain is doing while your date is actually speaking. Most of us aren't really listening in that moment. We're quietly drafting our next sentence, waiting for our turn like we're in line at a very stressful DMV. The problem is, you miss almost everything useful when you're doing that. The small detail they mentioned and didn't dwell on. The thing their voice did for half a second. That's the actual material for a good follow-up. And it's gone if you were busy composing your next line instead of hearing theirs. Try this instead. Let yourself fully finish hearing their sentence before you start building your reply. It feels like it costs you a second of awkward delay. It actually buys you a much better response than whatever you would have blurted out mid-sentence. The third shift is about what you do once you actually stumble onto something you both care about. Because most people notice it, nod, and immediately move on to the next polite topic like they're working through a checklist. Don't do that. When you find the overlap, the same weird niche show, the same complicated relationship with their hometown, whatever it is, stay there. Ask one more question. Let it actually become a conversation instead of a box you checked. This is usually the exact moment a date stops feeling like a mildly stressful interview and starts feeling like something real. And yes, some dates still won't click. And you'll still hit an awkward pause here and there. That's not failure. That's just what happens sometimes. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. None of this is really about charm. And it's definitely not about becoming a different, more naturally chatty person overnight. It's 3 small redirections. Ask something specific instead of safe. Actually finish listening before you start replying. And stay in the overlap instead of rushing past it. Do this enough times, and you'll notice something. You're not running out of things to say anymore. Not because you got more interesting, but because you finally stopped performing long enough to actually notice the person across from you. If this sounds like a pattern you recognize, the overthinking, the safe filler questions, the post-date replay where you critique everything you said, that's exactly the kind of thing this channel exists to unpack. New videos on this every week. Subscribe if you want to keep working through your own patterns with me.